Good morning and welcome to this edition of the New RAN Wireless Corporate Update. We have with us today Francis Letourneau, CEO of New RAN Wireless Inc., and myself, Frank Candido, Investor Relations at New RAN Wireless Inc. Today is Wednesday, August 25th, 2021. And good morning, Francis. You put out a press release this morning that I think we're going to go through and explain to our shareholders line by line what they mean.
Absolutely. Good morning, Frank. Thank you very much for joining me on this video. It's important. We've been pretty quiet during the summer time frame. So now with battery recharge, we come back from vacation and we can get the job done. So thank you. Let's go through the press release because people deserve a little bit more transparency and more explanation on the corporate update that we just announced.
Before we get to that, Francis, I take it you took a much needed holiday and you're well rested now and raring to go.
Absolutely. Not only me, everybody. So we had the last 6 months stretch has been pretty tough and challenging for everybody. Still, we have challenges in front of us, but with battery recharge, we're now ready to go. And as I say, I usually use hockey terms. So we're still in the playoffs. We're approaching the final now.
Okay, Francis, why don't we start with the first point that you made in the press release of this morning. Everyone knows that we've got this Cameroon contract, and they also know that we've got an important contract in DRC. And we recently raised a bunch of equity, and we had mentioned to our shareholders that part of that equity could be or would be used for the Cameroon contract. But here you're talking about final negotiations, which means to me that it hasn't been done yet, but it looks like it may be getting done with a local Cameroon bank. And then you also mention in that point that Cameroon bank happens to also be in the DRC and in other countries that you're targeting. So do you want to explain to our shareholders a little bit about what you meant by that first point?
Yeah, the equity raise we announced a beginning of July was important for the company for many aspects. We discussed about this already. Now we're still pursuing different avenues and different options in terms of financing because we need to debt finance most of our not operation but our asset that we will put in rural DRC, Cameroon, and other country to come. We have, as we'll discuss that later, MOUs with Mali, South Sudan, and Sierra Leone, but also some other projects potentially coming. But we're still pursuing all of those avenues, and we are in advanced final discussion with a Cameroonese bank. Yes, this bank also have legs in DRC and other country that we are targeting. The cool thing about this is that having another Cameroon debt finance, then the capital raised in the private placement could then be used as a bank guarantee in order to get more capital from that bank. So we keep some cash for us for future projects, to kick off future projects, or to realign a couple more stuff. So we always kept on going with those commercial banks. It's important for us, and we will still do it in every country where we go. And on top of this, there's some other banking facility with whom we are discussing with. This will be part of another video, Frank, that we will do next week or the week after. We're just getting prepared as we are creating a capital structure that will be explained to our shareholders with Chris Utting and Jim Bailey. In a follow-on video, we'll explain exactly what are the different tracks, different options that we have that lies in front of us. So, but still, banking, debt financing has been a priority for us.
Okay, thank you, Francis. On the second point, it looks like we're on track for Cameroon. The 122 sites, I believe it is. You mentioned in point 2 that you expect to have those up and running before the end of the year. So that's good. And you also mentioned something about increased average revenue per user and an increased amount of population density that you weren't expecting. So why don't you comment on that?
Yes, the latest not only survey, but the acquisition of site that we've done. We've seen more population than what was expected from because we're using tools to map out what the sites are, and we can extract from those tools the population density in those villages. It happens to be that through the site survey, the population is a little bit higher, or I would say significantly higher by 20% to 20%, 30%, and sometimes 50% more population density. So with the penetration rate, which is the number of people converting to a user, we might see more users, and the ARPU in some regions are higher based on Orange survey and Orange data. So what that means is that we can probably expect a higher revenue than what was expected, a little bit like what we announced for DRC. Remember, we did a press release and a corporate update, I think it was in April, and the same applies. So it's positive. It's positive because we're seeing, and the other thing is that when we do our business analysis, analysis, we usually take conservative numbers, which is good because when we find good, when we have good finding like this, it's always better for the company, right?
Yes, thank you. Why don't I handle point number 3, because it really falls under my domain. So we finally took the steps, when I say the word finally, only because I think some shareholders were expecting it, to uplist to the OTCQB. What we've been told is that the average wait time is 6 to 8 weeks. However, they've actually seen some files get approved in as little as 4 weeks. But we'll stick to the 6 to 8 week time frame, and we'll certainly come back to shareholders when we have an update on that. And we're always investigating uplisting on other exchanges as well, but we'll take that one step at a time. So the next point is the Lightcell XG. So let's, why don't you remind everyone what the Lightcell XG is first, and then, update everyone as you have in point number 4 of your press release this morning.
Yeah, the Lightcell XG is the next generation product that we launch, marketing launch in June. We have prototypes that will be sent to 2 projects really soon. So the GSMA Ghana one and Marshall Island, the project we announced last year, 2 years ago. For the second phase is going to start soon. And the goal is, of course, to test the unit in the field. The lab testing has all been done. But the XG is a 2G, 3G, 4G product running simultaneously. We've done a couple of press release and publicity explaining what XG is, but it gives us the ability to switch from 2G to 3G to 4G onto the site without going back to the site, so it's remotely available. And the cool thing is that you can manage up to 2 of those protocols at the same time, and it gives us a competitive edge to what's available in the market. When you go rural, you need to get units like this that will allow you to reduce your cost, to have better coverage, and to enable more technology to please your client. The user, and client, the mobile network operator.
Thanks for that. Next point, Francis, this could be the most exciting point that you made in that press release from my own point of view. But it sounds like, you could be putting the cart before the horse almost, but maybe you can explain that to our shareholders. You've been selected for a large RFP with a tier 1 MNO, mobile network operator in Africa. And it says that it's due by the end of September. So maybe you can give us an idea of some time frame. But what's interesting is it seems like you're taking the steps in advance of even being selected to sort of get things moving already. So does this make you extremely bullish? Are you being cautious here, or are you or you just, you really feel that good about this opportunity?
We feel good about this opportunity. This is we've been discussing with that tier one operator for quite a long time now. They ask us to be bold in our way of addressing their needs. And since it will be a multi-country type operation, we, based on the Cameroonese and DRC experience, we know that incorporation, licensing, export permit take forever to come. So we will bite the bullet right now and get the job done in order to be ready when we get it. But in all of those countries where this mobile network operator operates, there are other MNOs. So it's an opportunity cost for us to start this process. It's not that costly, but it saves us a lot of time when come time to start the process. So instead of waiting to have a contract, the cost of doing this is extremely low, couple of $1,000s. That's it. So we will start the process really soon, type approval and everything. But the cool thing about that too is that should we be selected for the full projects or for a piece of it, it's still a few thousand sites in a few countries. So Frank, it will be a game-changing situation for us. Everybody's been expecting that, including me. So we're working hard on this, and Denis feels the pressure. He sees me blowing in the back of his head. So we're working extremely hard on that. The proposal is due beginning of September. Based on what we've heard from them, the answer should come probably end of September, October. So it's a short time frame because they want to go fast. They see the pressure from the industry. So, and same for us. So they just wanted for governance policy to go through an RFP instead of giving a contract to a single vendor. That's it. That's why we are in this proposal stage as we speak.
Well, on behalf of all shareholders, keep pushing Denis. All right. So we're very happy with that. Okay,
I'll transmit this part of the video to Denis.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll see it. But just out of curiosity, do you have any idea of expected time frame when we can hear something, either positive or negative from this proposal?
Frank, so what, as I said, end of October, before the end of October, we should have an answer about this. But guess what? Orange RFP were supposed to have answers by March, and then March was postponed to June, and then we are end of August and still no answers yet. So of course they take their time. They're big boys, but we stand behind and we will get the job done for them.
Excellent. Francis, in April of 2021, so earlier this year, you put out a press release talking about, you were updating the shareholders on Cameroon and DRC, but you also mentioned in that press release that there was an RFP with Orange for 4 additional countries. You want to update us on that, where that's at?
I briefly touched a word in previous statement, but yes, the 4 RFPs are still ongoing. 2 of them we need to give a final answer on the site survey, so to give the overall scope of what we're proposing by August 31st. As I said, we were told March and then June. Now it's August, so let's see. But fingers crossed that we can get at least 2 of them answered in September. The other 2 are still unrolling. Would like to disclose what the country is, but yes, it's 2 major countries, 2 smaller ones. Odds are that we would probably get some of them. So my fingers crossed that we will get some of them. But we're really well positioned with what we've done in the DRC and in Cameroon. So we're on target for this. Excellent.
On to the next point, and we're getting through this pretty quickly, so we only have a few more to go, Francis.
Yes.
This was more of a point that you made in the press release. You said that the company was able to overcome some challenges that I know that other industries are facing, such as the car industry is a great example, et cetera, with components and that sort of thing, logistics, permits, transportation, the age of COVID. So, you mentioned that you were able to overcome a bunch of these challenges. You want to just maybe give us some insight into that?
Yes, so it's extremely important because since I would say the last 4 months, the only thing that the team have been doing is overcoming challenges and doing mitigation, risk mitigation plan to make sure that we're delivering on time, on budget, and on quality. One of the critical stuff in there was the RFP process that we went through for DRC. That was extremely important. We challenged our suppliers. We ended up with multiple suppliers for all sorts of material that we need to do. Cool things that we were able to manage through those suppliers to make sure that we were on top of it. So we're not that impacted in terms of delays. If you look at Cameroon, we were supposed to deliver first sites in August, end of August. Now it's like mid-September. So the impact is not so big, Frank. But even then, we can recuperate that impact and get the full 122 sites delivered before the end of the year. And same applies to DRC. DRC is pretty much on track, but we've been facing like components delays for the electronic manufacturing. The engineers have switched selection of those components, made testing so we can order components that take 4 weeks to come in 10 instead of 12 weeks. So the team has worked extremely hard because it's important for us to get the ball rolling, get site live, so we can demonstrate that the revenue and our expectations are met. And that will alleviate Jim and Chris in their ability to close debt financing, because this is one of the criteria. Equity was one of them. Now we have this. We'll discuss more about this financing stuff later on, but that was mandatory to us to have site live ASAP. This is what we've been working on. So this mitigation plan, due to our talented and experienced team, led us to still be on time for what we want to achieve, Frank.
Excellent. The next point is probably a very important one as well. Looks like DRC is starting to roll out, and it looks like, as expected. So maybe touch a bit upon that. But then you say something, like you mentioned something midway through that point that you talk about airtime and distribution sales that could increase your revenue, substantially, I guess. Why don't you touch a little bit about that? So you've already sort of mentioned DRC, but why don't you just like maybe expand on that a little bit and then talk about this airtime distribution sales?
Yes, in most of the cases with Orange, and it will be the case with other MNOs, MNOs want us to take the distribution and the sale of their products and services onto the site. So they want us to be the agent, as you see in a shopping mall from TELUS or Bell. So you have like a small boutique agent that resell airtime, cell phones, SIM cards, and everything. We will be that agent strategy for them for the rural site. So this accounts for maybe 5 to 6% more revenue for us. We leave, of course, the bonuses and commissions to the agents in the field, but it's more revenue for us. But the biggest impact of this is our ability to control the process. So we make sure that we have dedicated person to sell their service, that we have sufficient people on the ground to make sure that people that wants to use their phone have the ability to do it, and they're not waiting for an agent for 2 weeks or 3 weeks to come back to buy some new time, new airtime for this. So we are controlling our own destiny to make sure that we're meeting our revenue expectation, not only from a distribution point of view, but from a pure revenue point of view for the selected rural site that will be deployed.
Okay, and then your next point. I mean, there's always going to be at least one negative. So it sounds like Sierra Leone may be delayed. Why don't you just touch upon that?
Sierra Leone is governmentally owned mobile network operator. first of all. They did the management organizational change in the last couple of weeks. And this is what has delayed the date of completion of the agreement. But still, the agreement is on both companies or both organization CEO's desk, waiting for a signature. But to secure or to ensure our shareholder, it was their strategy to start the rural rollout at Sierratel, and it's still part of their strategy. So it hasn't been removed, it hasn't been discarded. So we're still moving forward with this. It's just timing issue due to this organizational change.
Okay, now we're on to our last point. Francis, in July of 2021, so just a few months ago, you announced an MOU in South Sudan. I think it was 250 sites. And you're mentioning in this press release that it's progressing well, and that even though you haven't signed an agreement, so yeah, you'll have to explain this to us. You haven't signed an agreement, but you're already starting what looks to be the deployment. So can you explain to us what's going on there?
Yes, so with MTN South Sudan is of course important to us because it's a door opener for the larger scope with MTN. MTN South Sudan was aggressive enough to open the door to us. While we are discussing the agreement and everything, we don't want to waste time. Exactly the discussion we were having a couple of minutes ago, Frank. So we're starting licensing, type approval, site survey, because the partner that we have there, Tandem, wants to get the job done as well as soon as possible. We would like, if possible, we would like to have site live before Christmas. So we're working extremely hard to get the job done. We're aggressive. It's an opportunity cost. We want to demonstrate the mobile network operator across Africa and to the rest of the world that we can execute fast and we can do the job as expected. So this is why we are extremely aggressive in those conditions. Our operation team is on the case, the site survey, they are selecting what equipment we will be using, selecting the type of sites that we'll do. The business model has already been selected. We're just working two tracks in parallel, operation and the agreement. So Chris and Jim are working on the agreement side. So we just want to be aggressive and show that we can deliver. That's it.
Okay, well, that's great, Francis. Now, I'm going to surprise you with this next question because you thought you were off the hook. I get a lot of emails from shareholders asking me all sorts of questions pertaining to opportunities we've announced, MOUs, where we're going, uplisting, all sorts of things. So, but earlier, I got an email from a shareholder of ours called Gary, and he sent a list of questions. I think there was 10, 15 questions. It was a long list. But two of the questions, I think, are questions that get repeated over and over again. So why don't you tackle those and we'll end this video on that note. What is it that you're most excited about with this company, being question one? And question two, what do you think is the number one challenge or risk for NuRAN at this point in time? I think these are very good questions that come up often. So why don't you take a stab at them?
First of all, if we go back to the first question, I've been with this company for almost 20 years. I've went through all the speed bumps and goods and bads and everything. We are now to a point where we could turn this company into fruition. One, and because we've made the right shift back in September, we see that from the industry. But on top of this, of course, people don't like it, but the humanitarian or the mission that we have to connect the unconnected is extremely rewarding, extremely rewarding. Everybody are super excited, employees. You should see the number of resumes that we are receiving from Africans that wants to work with us to help DRC and other countries to be connected. You would be amazed. So we are a game-changing business model, which is what excites me the most. Whereas your second question is the challenge of this, it's a finance play, Frank. We are building assets and operating assets, but in order to build those assets, we need to bring the proper financing there. We have given ourselves ammunition to go to the next type of financing. Everybody were asking, we need to see equity at the parent level, done. Second thing, they want to see site life to prove the business model in a few weeks, done. So hopefully by then we will get all of those ammunition covered. So that's the first, I would say, major challenge is the financing. But there's the IFIs, DFIs, the development banks, big funds, SDG funds, and all of those guys are just waiting for those two type conditions to be met. But seriously, the reception is extremely good. I'm having a call just after this one with what I call the Quebec branch to discuss with all of those organizations in Canada. And the other challenge is that we are operating into tough conditions. So we need to build the team that have this capability to go and deliver those things. And so far, so good. We've been selecting the appropriate people, experienced, talented team. We've shown on Facebook and Twitter pictures of our DRC team. We're just about to complete our Cameroonese one too. So we will count on people. People will make this happen for us. So those are the two major challenges.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Francis. I'm just going to remind shareholders that Francis has made himself quite available, but is quite busy, and so sometimes can't get back to everyone as quickly as they would like, but certainly has made himself more available than a lot of CEOs and other companies that I've dealt with. So, and I'm sure that's appreciated. Francis, we're undertaking our first roadshow in September,
Yes.
A physical roadshow, which sounds crazy. Assuming, of course, that things don't, go south again with this pandemic that we've been under. So we will let our shareholders know, but in early September, we will be going to Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, basically the three major hubs, and make ourselves available for meetings, etc. I mean, the objective is to meet the brokerage community, institutional community, but we also will have time to meet with our individual shareholders, possibly, with a meet and greet type cocktail event in each of those cities. So we're anxiously looking forward to that. Again, we will let you know of the exact dates as they become available. Until then, Francis Letourneau, CEO of New Rand Wireless Inc., Frank Candido, Investor Relations at New Rand Wireless Inc. Please keep sending those questions. We'll try to get back to you with responses as soon as we can, if and when we can. Thank you once again, and have a great day. Thanks, Francis.
Thank you, Frank.